Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. Thanks for tuning into the podcast today. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and today's lesson was inspired by a group coaching call with one of the members in my coaching circle. During the call, she was asking about how to make a special announcement about something new she was launching. She'd been working and thinking on what to say for the news on her website and the page she was going to put up there, and then the LinkedIn post that she was going to use to announce it as well. And I have to say here, shout out to Laura Thomas of Laura Thomas Nutrition for her milestone of creating her very first dot grid journal book and publishing it for sale on Amazon. It's called the Wild Ideas Grid Journal, and I will definitely put a link to that in the show notes. But here's the thing. Laura's question is one I get all the time because people get confused with marketing. They aren't sure how to make these big announcements. And honestly, what I told her is something I tell clients all the time. It is advice I've shared over and over the years, and it is one of the best ways I know to make your marketing easier. Easier to do, easier to write, and the easier it is to do more consistently, then that's going to mean it's going to get done too. The advice involves 4 simple words. Magical words, I call them. And when you follow this advice and do this strategy with your marketing, those words can transform how you do your marketing and how you create your marketing content. So I hope you're ready for some quick and easy advice that you can do immediately when it comes to your own marketing for your practice or your business. And trigger warning, this may come with a story about sisters and potentially some passive-aggressive actions that, well, let's just say it was needed for me to do that in order that I could move forward and grow my business. So, 4 words. How can 4 words have such an impact in marketing and the results you experience? It's because when you follow them and listen to them, I guess you're not listening to them, but when you follow the advice in these 4 words, it's going to make that content not only easier to do and create, but it's going to make it more relatable to your audience too. And when you can connect with people on a more authentic level, they feel like they are getting to know you better. And that is huge when it comes to them making the decision if they're going to work with someone, meaning you, hopefully in this case. That trust, that feeling of knowing you and feeling like you're a good person, that they understand who you are, that they have a good idea of who you are, what you do, and how you help them, that is often a big factor in decision making. The thing is, no one wants to read words or even listen to words of people talking and talking and talking, words that have no personality behind them. Marketing words need to have some meaning to people, helping them not only take in the content, but feel the content too, and feel you in that content. The best kind of content is content that truly represents you as the practice or business owner, especially for a lot of you out there that listen to my podcast. You are folks that offer a service. Maybe you're in practice, maybe you're a dietitian, maybe you're a clinician. I know I've got a lot of VAs out there, virtual assistants too, because of my history in that industry. There's lots of service providers out there listening to me. And the thing you have to understand, people are hiring you because of your expertise. That's what you sell with your services. So whether your content is in an email, a blog post, a social media post, even comments in private groups on Facebook or LinkedIn, you want to always make sure you include some content that is not all business or sales related, but is you related. persona content, I call it. And I'm pretty sure I have talked about my secret content formula for success before on the podcast. And so I will definitely look for a link to either a blog or a podcast episode where I share more details about that. But essentially, you need to know marketing content that you put out there should be mixed: business, sales, and persona. So you have that mix of it. So when people see and read your marketing and your networking content, that's the networking stuff. Honestly, that's part of the persona stuff. So this post that Laura wanted to do, sharing the news about her book, is more persona content. Yes, it's talking about the business. Yes, she would probably love for people to buy her journal and have some sales. But it really is a piece of persona content because it's news. It's big news. It's big news about her. It's exciting news. And when you have that kind of news, that's networking content, persona content. And if you can make people feel you in what you're putting out there, that it is more like you, the person, versus an essay or a thesis, then they're going to feel that you come across as a real person. So when they're networking and connecting with you online, then you're doing a great job with that persona content if people can feel you in the content. And I will say that in the coaching circle and in my Thrive Marketing Academy, we actually have, I call it we have thesis moments. That's when people are getting a little overcomplicated and overthinking their content. If you've got some big news, just share it out there, because honestly, I will probably tell you that big news you're going to share will probably get more reach and more traction than any other piece of content you put out there. It's just the way it works. People are excited to share the excitement you have. So this is also, I will tell you, one of the reasons why I don't encourage people to use AI-only content in their marketing. These days, it is fairly easy to pick out content on a website or in marketing that is not real and not reflecting the persona of the business owner, not reflecting their values. And this is one of the reasons why I don't encourage people to use AI-only content. I'm not saying that you can't use it. And you can definitely check out episode 84, where I talk about 7 ways that you can ensure the AI marketing content you are using stays true to you. So if you want a little more insight on that, be sure to listen to episode 84, and I'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. The thing was, I realized how critical this factor, this persona content, being real, being you, getting clients online. That was actually a tagline I had as I transitioned my business back in 2012 or 13. That was my tagline for my business. It was be real, be social. No, what was it? Be real, be social, get clients online. And I believe in that fully. But I really saw the power of that in 2011 when I went to a local conference here. It's called PodCamp. It wasn't about podcasting. It was, I don't know how to describe it. I'll probably have to think about how to put it up there. But it was a lot of people talking and sharing, speakers talking about social media and online marketing. Back then, social media was pretty big and everybody was learning to use it. And I was networking online like a fool. That was what my business was. I was a social media virtual assistant. That was my specialty. So I was online all of the time. And frankly, it was all of that online networking that helped me grow my business. It really was a different time back then, about 12, 13, 14 years ago. Social media was just, let's say, a little different than it is today, but I truly built my business by networking with strangers all over the world, as I like to say. And for someone who used to faint when talking in front of people, that was a big accomplishment. But it was at this one conference that I realized the full power of these 4 words. I had several experiences at that conference that made me realize something I had changed the previous year had in fact made a huge difference in my marketing and my results. And I will always remember that first time someone came up to me at that conference after I did a presentation. We'd been connected online on Twitter for some time. We'd had lots of online conversations. They were on my email list. Sometimes they replied back to my emails with comments. We chatted a lot online. Anyhow, after we had been talking in a group after I was speaking, she came over to me and she said, "Oh my gosh, it is so cool to meet you in person." She was just so excited and she kept saying to me, "And can I just say You sound exactly the same in person as you do online. I feel like I really know you. Okay, so listen up, private practice heroes out there. Do you hear the significance of those words? She felt like she really knew me. We had only ever connected on Twitter, honestly. It was Twitter with her. We'd been doing DMs, we had messages, sometimes emails, but it was all about the words she read for me online. We never spoke on a phone. All of it she read, and she took it in, those words. And when she was talking to me, she was saying, the words I'm reading from your marketing, from what we do online and connecting, feels just the same and sounds exactly the same in person as you do online. That was a huge compliment. Honestly, one of the biggest ones I ever had in my business at that point. It took me a little bit to realize how important it was, but I fully understood it because a few other people came up and said the same thing. And the thing that I thought about afterwards was not only did it really, take our relationship from online to a deeper level when we met in person and they could hear me speak and really feel me speak at that point. But the other thing was, and I've heard people say this before too, is after meeting me in person and hearing me speak, then when they were reading the content, they actually hear my voice saying it. So this ability to sound the same online as you do in person is huge. And she was one of about 4 or 5 people who said the same thing at that same conference. So what had I changed? I mentioned I changed something a year before. I'll tell you what I changed. I stopped listening to the grammar guards out there. And in my case, it was my sister. And I started to create content differently. I started to write the way I speak. Write like you speak. 4 words, 4 magical words. Now, in my case, the revelation did involve a little bit of a blow up with my sister, Cheryl. Kind of in those ways, sisters can get all mad at each other and start fuming, often silently, without the other one knowing anything is happening until the other sister blows up one day. Well, that's what happened to me. Now, don't get me wrong. Cheryl's one of my best friends these days. Totally different story when we were teens and kids, but that changed over time. And when I started my business at age 41, she was one of my big supporters. She even signed up for my newsletter. Awesome. She was a very good supporter. She would even post comments on my social media posts, which as business owners, we all know the more comments we can get, the more that helps our marketing reach more people. And she even replied to many of my emails telling me privately where I went wrong with my grammar and my content, correcting my spelling or the occasional typo in there. And I hadn't realized the pressure this was putting on me until the day after a comment on something in one of my newsletters, and I was literally fed up. Finally, I said to myself, that's it. I'm done with this crap. And I went into my email system and I unsubscribed her from my newsletter. And then I messaged her and I said, listen, I appreciate what you're doing. I've taken you off my newsletter. I don't want you to email me back with any corrections or anything. I'm just going to write the way that I want to. And I decided that day I was going to write the way I wanted, and it was going to be writing the way that I talk to people, to write like I speak. And I'll be honest, when I was writing up the outline for this podcast, my Grammarly tool was here getting mad at me, and it kept correcting my phrase, write like you speak, when I was typing it. And it kept wanting to change it to write as you speak in my outline here. Well, guess what? Grammarly, I don't speak that way. So I'm telling people to write like you speak. And once I did this, the pressure was off me to make that content perfect. And I found writing for my marketing was so much easier. And I'll be honest, if you go into the show notes, you're going to see those words that I just said on the page with a lot of O's in the word so. Because when I said it, I said it makes it so much easier. Well, there's not one O in that word so that I just said. So when I type it, I have 3 or 4 O's. And there's also the ... the ellipsis at the end of that line because I did a pause. That is literally how I'm talking and that's how I write it. My Grammarly tool definitively doesn't like that. I got some stats the other day. I get a weekly report on my progress. And I probably have it probably goes through over 500,000 words a week. And it always tells me my biggest error is the ellipsis and commas. But I don't care because the way that I put the content out there, I know it's connecting with people. And once I made those changes, I noticed other changes happening too. I got more replies back to my newsletter. I got more comments back online, more DMs. And then there was a day that woman at the conference said, Kathy, you sound exactly the same as you in person as you do online. I feel like I really know you. That is truly the best compliment on marketing that I could have ever gotten from anyone. The word saying, I feel like I really know you, from someone who had never met me until that moment. And she already had that feeling. Leaving people with that feeling is leaving them with trust and confidence in you as someone they feel they know. And when they realize you also offer services that can help them, well, it simply makes that decision for them to sign up and work with you so much easier too. Now, one caveat I do want to add here. I am not saying that it's okay to make typos and spelling mistakes and ignore them, or to write in any old way that makes no sense either. But if you can manage to keep the typos and the spelling errors at a minimum as much as you can, you should. I proof my content. In fact, I pay someone to do that. But even with that process in place, those dang typos are going to sneak by. You cannot be sloppy and lazy, but typos are going to happen. And as far as I know, they never killed anyone. And I know someone out there is going to tell me that there's a sentence that you can put together with a comma in a different place, and it will mean that someone may have been killed versus somebody not getting killed. But you all get what I mean. Typos will get noticed. Some of them will, some of them won't. And even if they do, we're only human. We all make mistakes. And we all say things to people all the time they may not understand. And when that happens, we just say it in another way so they do understand. But for most practice and business owners out there, your marketing content is not a thesis. It's not an essay getting marked. It is content with a purpose of building trust in you and your expertise to those potential clients who might hire you. They want to feel like they know you. So you've got to speak to them online the same way you do with them in person. And when you can do that, I promise your marketing will work even better than you can imagine. So my advice to Laura that day, and to many before her, and some that have had the same situation afterwards. Recently, we had someone else in the academy wondering how to announce the new website online. When you can use the strategy of those 4 magical words and write like you speak, I promise it will make a change for you. Laura wanted to share online the excitement she had about her brand new, first time ever creating a product, a book, a journal that is now up for sale on Amazon. FYI, little plug for Laura. It's called the Wild Ideas Grid Journal. And I will put a link to that in the show notes for you. So you can definitely check it out. And for those who don't know, by the way, dot journals are a type of journal some folks like to use. They have dots in the pages versus lines. A lot of people love them. And so she took her passion for photography and wildflowers and created this Wild Ideas Grid Journal, did all the work behind the scenes, and now it's up on Amazon. It is exciting. And she wanted to share this information with the world. And she'd been fretting over it. And she was like, what do I say? How do I phrase it? What do I put on the page that I should put on my website? And I just said to her, Laura, type up the excitement and all the words you just shared with us when you showed us the book on our Zoom call. Post that online. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to show your excitement and share the message. And I added to her, it will probably get a better reach than most posts you do anyhow, because everyone you're connected to will be excited for you and with you. And like all those clients before her and some of the ones afterwards, they're always like, are you sure? Are you sure that's okay to do? Yes, I'm sure. It is big news. It is good news. It is exciting news. And people love to hit that like and comment button and share the excitement with you. But if it's a businessy type of post that ChatGPT would write without much emotion or feeling, then you'll be back to it's just something else that anybody else could write out there. It's not going to get as much traction because people aren't going to get as many feelings from that content. And these types of posts really do often get way more reach than your typical marketing posts, which is why in my formula, I tell people put more persona content out there than you do sales and business. My formula, for those who aren't in the know, business is 30%, sales is 30%, persona is 40%. So when you have these opportunities like Laura did to share the news and put that persona content out there, do it. Absolutely do it. But a lot of people, even though I tell them this, they're still surprised when it happens. So when you're writing down your marketing content and you're thinking about what you're doing and maybe overthinking, just take a breath and write down what you would say to someone if you were speaking to them. And that's it. Those are the 4 magical words that will help you transform your marketing, make it easier to do, more relatable to people, and will help you have a more impact on the audience who is reading or seeing the content. And one of the big reasons is because you'll sound the same as if you were saying those words to them in person. Write like you speak. Oh my gosh, Grammarly changed my line back here. Okay, so if you're really into the grammar stuff, write as you speak. I like to say write like you speak. Write your marketing the same way you would talk and say it to someone, the same way you would speak. It is all about leveraging that personal connection in your marketing, and it can make a huge difference in the results from the time you do spend on creating that content. It is very easy to get caught up in trying to sound overly professional, overly polished, absolutely perfect with your marketing. But guess what? People crave people. Real people. They want to hear your voice. They want to hear your excitement. They want to hear your stories. That's why this strategy is so powerful. It's not just about writing marketing content. It's about connecting with people because of your content and the way you've written it. Write like you speak. That's it. Your action step from today, I've got 5 of them for you. They're easy though. Number 1, I want you to look at ways that you can share some content online and write like you speak and try it out. 2, try sharing some of those personal milestones and stories in some of your marketing content. Add that in, mix it in with the business and sales, and you might see some very big shifts in what is happening with what you're doing. Use your own experiences to create relatable and engaging content. Check your grammar, of course, but keep it sounding like you. And definitely check the spelling for big deal errors, I call them. And block those grammar guards when you want that paragraph or that lesson or that social media post to sound just like you would say it to someone's face. Throw the grammar Bible, I don't know. Maybe that's not the right word. The grammar book, I call them the grammar guards. Throw them out the window and just write like you speak. It is really about simplifying your content creation process without sacrificing quality. Because really and truly, people are buying you and your expertise. If you don't sound like you in your marketing, they may think they're buying something different. If you can write like you speak in your marketing, you'll be adding in that content that is truly relatable, hits home with people that read it, and sounds like you. And that is it. That is the secret to making your marketing easier to do and more real to the people reading it or seeing it. So when the time comes that you meet some of those folks in person, people you've only met online, maybe people you've never even seen in a Zoom call so you could hear their voice and their inflection and their tone and how they sound and how they move and their body language. Maybe you're going to meet them for the very first time in person. And they might also give you that same huge compliment when they say, "Gosh, you sound the same in person as you do online." It's the best compliment ever. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off, saying thanks for tuning in, and let me know how it goes when you make a shift like this and try some of this marketing content that you write like you speak. It really can be easy to do. And making that one shift, just make one shift in your mindset. And you might find that the marketing isn't so challenging as it was before. I know for me, that was huge the day I unsubscribed my sister from my email list. And remember, to thrive in practice means ensuring that content you do create sounds like you, reflects your personality, and helps people get to know you and trust you. The more folks who have trust in you, the more who will be ready to say, sign me up, because they feel like they know you already. That's it for today. I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.